Hey, this is Jim Silver, and welcome to Shop Talk. With me is my co-host, Jennifer Lynch.
Hey.
Hey, so we have a special guest this week.
Yes.
Somebody who
We're really excited about.
Yes, somebody who's been in the business for 5 decades.
He's kind of a legend of sorts, I would say.
Well, we already did autographs here.
Yeah, we
And
did. It's true.
yes, we did autographs here, and also, I've called him the father of the licensed action figure.
I would think that's an apt title. Yeah.
So without further ado, Marty Abrams from Mego Corporation.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and happy, quite candidly, to be alive.
So
As old as I am.
it all started, you took over as president 48 years ago, and I believe 1971. What was your vision for Mego at that time?
Well, I came right out of college. It wasn't like I had this great plan of what I was going to do, and I went to work for my father. He had a small manufacturing toy company, an import toy company, and I went to work for him for 3 or 4 years. And I realized that at the end of the day, we were going to Japan and Hong Kong buying product, and we were getting exclusives. We'd buy a bus, and we get an exclusive, a Greyhound bus, in red. Someone else would get it in blue. Someone else would get it in black. So the bottom line is we knew we didn't have a long-term plan to build a company because we had to build brands. Mm-hmm. And I had an epiphany one day. I said we have to get into the licensing side. And that's really how it really started in terms of building a strategy. And that probably came to me sometime around the end of '68, middle of '69, when Joe Namath won the Super Bowl. Mm. It was my first, he won the Super Bowl. Let's go do a Joe Namath action figure.
How do you just pick up the phone and call up Joe Namath and say, here's, how much would that?
Yeah, you managed to get a lot of big names into the line. I mean,
that's exactly what I did. I picked up the
Really?
phone and I called Joe Namath. And he was
it was that easy back then?
it was just that simple. He goes, who is this? I go, I'm the guy that's going to make you famous. He says to me, he says to me, I'm already famous, so I'm going to make you famous, more famous. And he turned me on to his lawyer, who was a guy named Jimmy Walsh, who was a great guy, and we hit it off right away. And we literally shook hands on a deal in 7 days, maybe less. And
That's
we were
crazy.
in production 6 months later. That's how fast it moved in those days.
Yeah, I was going to say that's expedited the process a lot faster than we see
Yeah.
today in terms of a deal going down.
Well, especially the big deals. They're so expensive that you have to turn around and really knock everything out. You have to make sure you do everything right because there are hundreds of thousands of dollars of advances, and then there's guarantees of millions of dollars. And so you can't just turn around and pluck that off an apple tree.
Right.
You really have to turn around and make sure that when you bite into this, you're biting into something sweet and juicy. And so it was a different time. Perfect example, by the way, is Star Trek. When we had the epiphany to do Star Trek, we just called them up and said we want to do Star Trek. They didn't even have a licensing agent. They had a
Who'd you call?
guy was named Selwyn Roush. I remember that to this day. It's like 45 years ago. Selwyn was the agent for Paramount because they had no internal licensing department. And he said, you want to do what? I said, I want to make action figures. He says, great. I said, how much is in advance? He says, you name it. I said, $5,000. He says, you got a deal. $5,000 for a worldwide license in Star Trek. Was unheard of. And by that time, they were in syndication. The convention style was just starting to work. So it was, again, we're talking about a totally different time and a different place.
So what made you the right partner, though, for these people to go with in terms of creating an action figure?
Well, what made us the right partner? Because we were not successful the first go around with Joe Namath because we literally were about to launch his new brand, the action figure line, and in pre-season, the first game, he gets wiped out and blows out his knee. And he's
yeah.
he's done
I think the Raiders knocked him out. I remember that.
So we were done.
Yeah.
So we knew that doing live action people were a little more difficult, and it taught us down the road how to play that game because we did, down the road we did Sonny and Cher, we did Farrah Fawcett,
Right.
we did Muhammad Ali. So we knew how to now then to turn around and orchestrate that plan when you're doing a live action person. But why did we become the right partners? Because when we did Batman and Superman, they exploded right off the shelf.
Positioned yourself.
And so we wound up we had Batman, we had Superman. In fact, we had the whole library of Warner's DC. So what came next? Marvel. And we had the whole,
And nobody had Marvel.
nobody had Marvel.
Nobody was doing Marvel action figures. Can you
Understand,
imagine that?
in those days, nobody had anything. I mean, we were the first ones to do Batman and Superman. We were the first ones to do Spider-Man across the board. So once we had those two brands and we had big footage in the stores, you see how
right.
That's
that
how,
makes yeah.
That became
No brainer.
All I had to do was make a phone call to anybody. They were going to take my phone call.
Yeah.
And that's how it worked, because that's how it happened in Planet of the Apes. Because that became the third part of the process.
So back then, who was buying the toys? Was it kids or was it collectors?
Only kids.
Okay.
The collective, I mean, for all intents and purposes, because that's what really has brought us back, is like the collective business. But in those days, it was only the kids. It was a flat out 5 to 9-year-old, 4 to 10-year-old, and that was who was buying it. What effectively then happened was, because after Planet of the Apes, then we did Star Trek, then we did Fonzie, we did Sonny and Cher, we did Starsky and Hutch, we did.
Well, you mentioned Cher.
Yes.
And I go back to Cher because Cher became a hot seller, almost like Barbie.
Correct.
Same thing. You just called up Cher and just say.
No, that was a little more difficult. You couldn't just call up Cher.
It's like.
But at that time, I had on my we did The Wizard of Oz, which was fantastic for us, and the success of The Wizard of Oz turned to many different places for me, because once we had that success, Mervyn LeRoy, who was the producer of The Wizard of Oz, who was one of the great Hollywood directors, producers, I mean, he was part of the golden age of Hollywood. They gravitated towards me. I mean, in those days, because I'm doing all these things, Hollywood had never seen this level of activity. There may be an item here, there may be a product there, but not this level of activity. I was just out there all the time acquiring properties. So I became very good friends with Cary Grant. Now that sounds a little precocious. Maybe it should, across. But I used to have lunch with him once a month at the Polo Lounge in Beverly Hills. So we're having lunch with myself and Mervyn and Cary. And all of a sudden, Henry Winkler walks by. Henry Winkler, Fonzie. Hey. I'm saying to myself, hey, he would be a great action figure. And I said it to Mervyn. Oh, you want to meet him? Sure. So Mervyn jumps up. He grabs Henry. Henry knows who he is immediately, because the great legend. And he says, come over, I want you to introduce you to somebody. Now I'm sitting with Cary Grant. Mervyn is bringing him over to introduce him to me. But he thinks it's Cary Grant. And so when he looks at me, he goes, yeah, goodbye. And he goes right over to Cary Grant. So, but that's literally how we got the whole Fonzie game plan. Literally at the Beverly Hills Hotel, having lunch by mistake. So that was how the things were happening so fast and so quick that we were just in that mode of acquisition of ideas and products and people.
So you're moving along, things are going well, and it gets later to the 70s. Did you look at Star Wars? Did you pass on Star Wars? There's different stories out there.
Okay. Here's the truth on Star Wars. Bottom line. I had just acquired Micronauts.
Yep.
From Takara. And we knew that was going to be a huge brand, and we had literally had to recreate the American version of Microman. And so we had spent a lot of time going back and forth to Japan to make sure everything was right. And I was out of the country when the lawyer for Fox came to us to show him. It was a perfect storm, because he comes to us. I'm out of the country working on Micronauts. We, the previous year, were the #1 royalty payer to Fox, because the previous year we were doing Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
It was a huge success over the previous 2 years. We paid them 7 figures in royalties. And those days the royalties weren't 15, 20% like they are today. They were 6, 7%. So it's almost like you can almost double it in terms of what the money of expectation. So I wasn't there. He comes in and sees. He's a lawyer, by the way. Again, they don't even have their own licensing department. They have a lawyer going out there figuring these things out. Goes to my lawyer and says, what do you think of this? Because Marty's not here. So again, I'm not there. He says, Marty's in Japan. Well, I'll tell him when he gets back. But here's the perfect storm. The perfect storm is I turned around and wanted to be away from the rest of the toy industry, right? So I was at 41 Madison Avenue with my offices and my showroom. The toy industry was at 205th Avenue. But what happened, because we were such a hot company that time, a lot of the toy companies followed us over there. For example, Hasbro. For example, Kenner. For example, Ideal. I mean, they all follow us over there. So this guy goes down my elevator bank. I'm going to talk about the perfect storm. He goes up the next elevator bank, and the guy from Kenner, who's based out of Cincinnati, is in town that day. He's never there. If he's not in town that day, he passes out. There's no one to talk to. So now here's what we got. We've got a guy that's in town that day. He's doing the $6 million man. I am beating him to death with all our other brands. He's going to buy this just to protect, make sure I don't get it.
Yeah.
So again, we've got the perfect storm. I'm not there. He's there. He moved his showroom from 205th Avenue to 41 Mass Avenue to be in the same building as me, and that's how it was acquired. It wasn't that nobody turned it down. No, we didn't even know it existed until I got back from Japan and Hong Kong on this trip 2 weeks later, and I'm told that this guy was in the office. I make the phone call. He goes, Marty, it's just too late. I signed the deal with Kenner. Now, you know what he signed the deal for?
Oh, it was...
The advance?
No.
It was,
what was
I knew
the advance?
It was something really...
Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh.
$25,000. Now, I was buying stuff, $100,000, $200,000 just to put into my library to pull out. I would have taken that on the spot just to make sure no one else had it in the contract. But that's the real story. There's nobody that passed it. Nobody even knew what was going on because I wasn't there.
After Star Wars, Mego started to struggle for a couple of years.
Well, what happened was Star Wars just kicked our...
It kicked everybody.
I mean, we were 80% of the mail action business at that time because we had everything. I mean, I talked to Fonzie, Starsky and Hutch, Star Trek, Planet of the Apes, all the superheroes. Microdots was a big brand at the time. Yep. So we really dominated that area. And when Star Wars comes in, and even they came in, they were a year late. They were selling empty boxes.
Right.
Yep, I remember that.
Empty, and people were buying empty.
Bernie Loomis.
Well, that's the guy that bought the property.
Oh, Bernie bought the property?
Yeah.
Bernie was behind it.
Bernie was behind. If I give anybody credit, anybody in the world, it's Bernie Loomis. Bernie was never a great friend of mine, but he was a great competitor. And we used to compete all the time. So he's the one who bought it. And so it was also his team that came up with the idea of the empty box. So they were pretty smart. They're pretty cool. What they did though was they turned around and made these 3 3/4 inch figures because they wanted to scale so they could have all the spaceships and the environments inside, which they could retail at the right price, and it becomes a collector's piece. We can have the whole brand at once. So he knew what he was doing, and it was very good. He was just a damn good marketer.
Right, and before that, you basically just dominated, I guess, like the 12-inch space.
Well, because we went from the 8-inch. The whole premise of the 8-inch was so we could get into the product when it was hot. We knew that if you missed the timing on a lot of this hot product, you were done. So if you have the same body, and all you have to do is sculpt of a head. Remember, cut and sew was cut and sew. That takes 2 weeks.
Right.
Sculpting a head takes about a week. To make a rotational head takes another week or 10 days, and then you got to pull a bunch of them. 300, 500, 600 different heads. It could literally be in production in 30 days. And so a product came out hot. We were delivering it 90 days to 120 days after it turned around and became a hot property. So we could turn around and take advantage of that piece of business.
So after Star Wars, what happened to Mego? Now, there's so many different stories out there. There's stories about unions. There's stories about debt. What's the real story?
Well, there is no what we call real story because it was a sequence of events. Again, life, every time you open a door, you never know what's on the other side. So in that context, we turned around. We then went into a struggle mode. I mean, to survive. So I get back on a plane, go over to Japan with Takara. They know that we're getting our ass bumped. In that period of time, I met a company called Nintendo. You may be aware of those guys.
Who's that?
So what we did was, in order to cover this bump here, I acquired the rights to they had a handheld game called Timeout. It was the first credit card size games. They were made of liquid crystal, and they were fantastic. So I brought that product in. There was a transition period. And it gave me $15 to $20 million worth of business to bridge part of this gap. Same time in that area, same period of that time, we did a brand called Magnadoodle. And,
and
so we create,
You launched Magnadoodle?
I launched Magnadoodle, yeah. not only to launch it,
that.
I didn't know that
well,
either.
not only did we launch it, we created it. Now, Takara had the idea, not Takara, it was Pilot Pen had the idea to make the honeycomb faces to pull up the
Gotcha.
conductive ink,
Right.
but they couldn't manufacture it. And the reason they couldn't manufacture it is you had to build a clean room because you had this wet magnetic ink
Oh.
in the embodiments. So if you got a little bit when you go to close it, you couldn't close it, and the air would get in and would destroy the whole thing. We had too many hard assets in place. We just didn't have enough time to literally come back because we turned around with Takara, for all intents and purposes, created a brand that, well, I'm not going to even mention the name, but what it did was, it was basically Micronauts. You put it on hinges, and you flipped, you could turn a car into a robot. You know what that brand is.
Yeah, I know what that brand is.
Okay, so we had developed, we had literally, if we had one more year, that brand, because that brand came out, did $200 million the first year in business.
Yeah.
So if we had one more year, we would have been able to get through the process. So, you know, the struggle is a struggle. You win some, you lose some, but it has given me, quite candidly, a very interesting life.
Yeah.
I've ridden that roller coaster up, and I've ridden that roller coaster down.
So Mego closes down. What happens to the brand?
Well, Mego closes down. Mego goes into liquidation, to a bankruptcy. I then turn around and buy the bankruptcy. So now I own all the IP. In that IP, by the way, was Micronauts. So I put it away for several years. And that IP, by the way, is the name Mego.
Yeah.
So so I own the IP, and because of when you build this exciting, culturally hip company. I mean, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I don't think I was quite 40 when Mego went out of business. We were just having the time of our life doing all this stuff. I turned around and said, listen, I went through that public position. I was always out in the press somewhere. I withdrew and went and created a marketing design inventing firm over a period of the next 20 odd years with the guys, Anthony and John Gentili. It was called Abrams Gentili Entertainment. We created in that branding some pretty incredible products.
Sky Dancers.
Dancers.
Sky Dancers being
See,
one,
Sky Dancers,
which is over
yes.
35 million pieces worldwide sold.
I was a buyer.
Well, good. Well, you helped support my family in that period of grief. We also did the Power Glove.
Yeah.
The Power Glove was the first virtual reality product. We did that with Hasbro, who, by the way, clearly, then, 20 years ago, and now is the best toy company in the world.
So the years go by, and now we're going to fast forward to today. You didn't bring back Mego before now. Why now?
Was it like the timing for retro toys? Kind of, we saw like a bit of a revival over the past few years there.
That is the party line. I could give you the party line. That's not what happened.
Okay.
Over the years, the retros have been happening. You know, you gave me the lovely thing before in terms of the father of the modern license figure, or the father of the modern action figure. But all those things and so I was always part of that. And then a guy by the name of Paul Clark, he's known as Dr. Mego, comes to me about 8 years ago and says, Marty, I want to turn around and bring back Star Trek, and I want to bring back Planet of the Apes as a Mego action figure. I said, well, great, what's that going to do with me? He said, no, I want you to be part of it. I want you to turn around and validate this as a collectible. Okay, what does that mean? And he told me what he means is he's going to put my picture on the back. He's going to tell the whole Mego story in conjunction with Star Trek. Paul, if you want to do that, that's fine. I mean, thank you very much. He goes out and does it. And between Star Trek and Planet of the Apes sells about 200,000 pieces. Pretty extraordinary number. No one even knows about it. I mean, it just went into the collector's business, disappears. I said, thank you very much. You know, and I get a lot of talk about it. But again, I'm not interested in going back. I mean, people have come to me over the years to bring back Mego in different art forms, and I still didn't want to do it because, quite candidly, I was clueless. I had no idea the feeling of the brand that people had. So what happens is there was a new buy over at Target, and the guy is the sharpest, coolest tool in the shed. I mean, he knows everything that's going on, and he comes, and Toys R Us is going out of business. He knows there's going to be a whole collector's stuff that's going to be floating out there. How does he turn around and make himself different?
We also see Funko being really hot.
Well, Funko, Target made Funko happen. Target was the first national company to put Funko in breath-wise. So he knew it was there because of Funko. I saw Funko, and I'm going, well, they're doing the same thing Mego did. They're doing it just with a different art form. They're doing it in bobbleheads. But it never connected with me that I should be doing something like this. But it connected with him. And so he comes to us and says, Marty, we'll want to bring back Mego. And here's what we want to do. We'll give you 2,000 stores. We'll give you end caps. We'll put out the product brand. I said, the key to this is you're going to buy enough per item so I can sell this so it's a consumer product to the collector. I don't want to be out there where I'm selling something that's, if you're a regular toy manufacturer, you're going to be selling it $14.95, and I'm selling the same item at $29.95. Even with the Mego name on in the collector's position, we're not going to get to the marketplace at the right price point. He said, fine, here, and he gave me the order on a per-piece group that I could turn around and sell it as a consumer product. And he put it into the stores. And that was really how, if it wasn't for Target coming to us saying, here's, we think there's a branding here to go out and do that, in conjunction with that, I would not have taken leap, even though all the stuff you just said is correct. There's the nostalgia part, there's the collectible part. We've been part of, what was amazing to me.
The timing was just right for you for that then,
Well,
I guess.
not only was the timing right, what was amazing to me with the exception of Marvel, we got every one of our brands that we had before.
Are you now moving forward going to focus on like nostalgia, 70s, 80s, and 90s, or are you going to do modern characters of today?
We're going to do everything, up to including modern characters today. You know, we couldn't get Marvel, so we went out and got Jimi Hendrix. We couldn't get Marvel, so we went out and got Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
So we had great fill-ins in
well,
that
the
aspect.
Woodstock anniversary is coming up, so
Perfect.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
perfectly timed
So
for that.
but we're doing for next year Twisted Sister and Alice Cooper and Marilyn Manson. We want characters because we're the first ones to do Kiss. I mean, I can remember the day I walked into Madison Square Garden. 25,000 people there. It was 12,500 dads and 12,500 kids between the ages of 5 and 10 who came to see them. I had never heard of them, and we went. I saw this. So we went. I mean, that's and we could do it because of the bodies. We could move fast.
Are you looking at anybody famous from today, like a Kardashian or Kanye or somebody of that?
The answer to that is yes. We're launching this summer. The Impractical Jokesters.
Oh yeah.
On True TV. Because they sit right in our wheelhouse in terms of age, collectability.
Do you watch that?
And insanity.
I never heard of them until
They're Jersey guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing them. And the perfect example is Stan Lee. We've got the rights. Again, how we got this, I have no idea.
Yeah, that was an incredible deal. When I saw that news go down, I was like, wow.
Here we are, just this little company. And all I'm saying is, I knew Stan Lee before he was Stan Lee. I mean, Stan Lee today is a mythology by himself. I mean, the greatest.
Talk about legends.
He's beyond legend.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, they throw that name, that word around like it's popcorn. So when I called him up, I said, let's do Stan Lee Returns. He says, Marty, love the idea. Go to POW Entertainment, which is my company. There's a guy over there named Bob Saboni, who's a brilliant marketeer. And we signed off the contract, and we're about to go with this whole rollout. And
he passed.
He passes.
Yeah.
So out of consideration to him and out of courtesy to his family, we held back, and we did not announce until after the memorial service they had for him, which we were at in California. We knew we have to handle this very gently, so we just announced the relationship, and that's all. But we first acquired the first property with him.
Do you have the rights just for action figures or for other things?
We have pretty much everything. So now and then when you look at what we're doing, you go back to all the way to '68. to 75, to the disaster in 82, to the rebirth in 85, to turn around the continuing play across the last 15, 20 years. And then, you said 5-year decades. Actually, it's 6. I don't want to tell you how old I am.
I know.
So having said that, doing this is, something old is new again. You just build this whole process.
So let's fast forward 1 year from now. We bring you back here. What are we talking about 1 year from now in respect to Mego?
I will tell you this. I'm probably more shocked than anybody that the level of demand for the product and the product concepts that Mego was doing was out there. I'm also, the goodwill that the brand had in this last 35 years with people in terms of what they were and what they weren't doing is also remarkable. If that continues, with us bringing out a whole range of Stan Lee stuff, as well as we have another brand that we're about to launch internationally the end of the summer, which has been received incredibly well in terms of especially for the
And that brand is? Come on, it's coming out at the end of the summer. Come on, give it a little reveal.
It's called Heads Up.
Okay.
Okay, which basically is a miniaturization of what we're currently doing in our current brand, because we want to get a collectability that kids would play with, and there's a play pattern here that they love, and then they would collect them. Now, how do you do that? You got to get something that's going to retail for $5 and below. So we found something that's exciting, that's brilliant, and that was created internally by our team, and then we just took all our licenses, so it instantly has 120 different licenses across the board for collectability, and it's all going to retail for $5 and below.
Is there unboxing though?
Yes.
That's overdone. We can't compete with that.
Yeah. Marty, thank you for coming to Shop Talk. If you haven't realized already, I know Marty for 35 years. He's been a friend almost 35 years. And we were
33 years.
33 years, that's right. We had a little fight about the Cher doll and Barbie, which one was hotter. However, it's great to see you back and Mego thriving again. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate
it.
Thank you
So much
Very
for
nice
joining
to meet
us.
you. Thank you so much.
And stay tuned to A&B Media's YouTube channel, where we'll be releasing more episodes of Shop Talk and sitting down with others in the industry who will be sharing their thoughts on what's happening with the business.